I have not been here in over 2.5 months. Why are you in darkness in my office?
It's blinding my eyes.
Oh man, 2.5 months since I have been here at the office. Lift that up. Come on! Yes! Oh, it feels good to be back here. I didn't think I'd miss this place so much. Coming back to the office, I just realized again how much gear I have and how I really don't need most of it. And now I got more. PGY Tech just sent me these new little Gorilla Pod replacements. This is the water housing we tested in Portugal. Aquatech, thank you. Thank you for sending it. And Insta360 just sent me this. Does that even fit in the frame? This is 3 meters long or something. Crazy. But I have a problem. You see, I have a lot of Canon gear, but I also have a lot of Sony gear. So the real question is, which is better, Canon or Sony? But it's not that simple. They are definitely the biggest camera companies out there. Now all you camera whiners, camera babies, camera Karens, let it all out now. Let me hear it. Blah, 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 whatever company you think is the best, that's okay. The real question here is, which camera system should you be investing in? That's really the question here. Which company should you be putting your time and money into? That's what we're gonna try to answer here. I've used both cameras a lot, so here are my thoughts. First off, probably one of the biggest things you actually have to think about is the lenses, because the lenses end up being almost a bigger investment in the long term, because you're just usually buying 1, maybe 2 camera bodies, but you're buying a bunch of lenses, and lenses cost a lot. Now, traditionally, Canon has had by far the bigger selection in lenses. They have been the king of lenses, and I'm sure that's partly why their cameras have done so well. Now, the problem is that they have so many different camera mounts. They have EF, they have EFS, they have EFM, and now RF. And even though they have a ton of lenses, they don't have as many lenses for the RF cameras, which are the newest, best Canon cameras. Whereas Sony kind of big brain things, and every single camera from the low end all the way to their cinema cameras have an E mount, the same mount. So the same lenses are gonna work across the board, and they actually have a ton of lenses to choose from now. Way more lenses to choose for the best cameras than Canon has right now. So that's definitely something to consider. But I would say Canon has a leg up on photography. I still prefer photography on Canon cameras more. The only problem is photography is kind of dying. Not that it's not important anymore. The problem is that all of the social media platforms are prioritizing video content now, and photography is just kind of like being thrown out the window. Even Instagram is saying it's not a photo app anymore. So this means that all the social media platforms are going to be showing less photos than they have in the past, which unfortunately, in my opinion, is going to mean that photography is slowly going to become just less and less important. It's kind of sad, but I think that's what's going to happen. And I think in terms of video, Sony has the lead right now. I think they just have better video features. Look, that's totally debatable. Personal preference, all of that stuff, color science. But in terms of just specs, features, the video features are just way better on Sony's. You get more bang for your buck. From the low end all the way to the high end, you're just getting more video features. And not to mention, you don't have to deal with the overheating and wobbles. Is that still like a touchy, sore subject, Canon users? Yeah? Now, something that I think is really interesting is that Sony actually makes the sensors for the iPhone cameras. And I can't help but think that that is gonna be a leg up for Sony if they're developing the best of the best tiny sensors for iPhones, that it's gonna be a big benefit also for the Sony cameras in general. In terms of money, R&D, research, all of that stuff, I don't know, I think that's actually pretty important. That Sony is just going further and further ahead with cameras and camera sensor technology. I think that's definitely a checkbox for Sony in this case. And I'm also a little worried that Canon hasn't really done anything that interesting in the camera space for a little while now. The R5 definitely got a lot of hype, but since then, it's been pretty quiet, while Sony, on the other hand, has just been releasing new camera after new camera, just pushing the boundaries, pushing the technology. Yeah, I think that's worrisome. You probably know where this is going. Right now, I am choosing to invest in Sony gear because I like the long-term outlook better for Sony than I do for Canon. Now this might change completely in a month from now. It could be that Canon's just all of a sudden releases camera after camera. It's just like insane computational photography, crazy software, which I hope is coming. But for now, I think Sony is the safer bet to invest in. Canon has been more complacent, whereas Sony has just been bringing everything they got, I feel like. And you know, that happens when you've been king for so long. Eventually, the underdog. Beppo, you own Canon stuff, but you've used my Sony stuff. Honest answer. If you had to start from scratch right now, which system would you invest in?
Oh, that's a tough question. If I only did video, probably Sony. But I do like photo with Canon, so I'm torn.
I think that's the only, that's how I would put it. If you are full on straight up only photography, then I would probably still go for Canon right now. But if you're doing video, which a lot of you are, I think Sony's the way to go right now. So there we go, Sony for this season, but it's definitely gonna be hard to let go of my Canon gear, so we'll see how much of it I get rid of, or do I just keep some of it? Let me know, I'm curious, what are your thoughts? You think Sony or Canon, and why? I want some nice conversation, no camera baby whining camera Karens out there just making people feel bad because they like Fujifilm or some other camera company. It's totally fine. This is just my opinion. Don't get all worked up. You're fine. Every camera nowadays, including your smartphone in your pocket, is a good camera. I'm just offering a little bit of advice from personal experience. It's just my opinion. Okay, I'm gonna go back to drinking this. I'll see you guys.